Freddie Mercury, a side of the rock star you've never seen. If you've seen any reality shows, you know most people qualify forward based on their life stories. This is annoying to fans of the show as they believe people should progress because of their talent and nothing more. Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen, rose in the international music arena based on his strong vocals and penetrating lyrics. However, his backstory adds a lot of depth to every word he wrote and sang. The ultimate test of talent is not to need a sob story to back it up, and Freddie's music career did just that. As people say, if your work is doing the talking for you, let it. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen is one of the most iconic songs of all time. Regardless of what music cult you belong to and how faithful you are to few genres, Bohemian Rhapsody is everyone's favorite. Freddie and his band members put a lot of effort into the song, and they reaped the rewards with the massive success it gathered. The achievement of Bohemian Rhapsody goes far beyond sales and charts. It's the only music video from the 70s to get over 1 billion views on YouTube and is BBC Radio 1's most requested song of all time. The impression Queen has been making in the hearts of people in the last 45 years is unparalleled. What we don't get to hear often is the emotional story that made Freddie who he was. Humble beginnings. We think of Freddie Mercury now, and it's difficult to imagine him as anyone apart from the flamboyant, leotard-wearing musician we love. However, Freddie had quite a healthy life before he made it big. He was born to affluent parents who worked as registrars for the British government in Zanzibar. When Freddie was born, his parents named him Farouk. Being originally from India, his parents sent him to a boarding school in Mumbai so he could be closer to his culture. It was at this boarding school that Freddie's talents began to surface. His first interaction with music was through a piano. Despite being only 8 years old, he understood music and expressed himself passionately with every key. He also joined his first band while he was still very young, named The Hectic. Trouble in Paradise. When this young prodigy went to India, he was called Farouk or Buck because he had 4 extra teeth at the back of his mouth. However, he started getting called Freddie in India. The name struck a chord with him, and when he returned to Zanzibar in 1963, he brought his passion for music and a new name along. Freddie has already been born, and it was just a matter of time now. In 1964, Zanzibar was brought to chaos from the Zanzibar Revolution. The ethnic tensions between the Asian and Arab minorities in the region were getting too hot and ended up overthrowing the Sultanate. To protect their family from the violence that was rapidly spreading, Freddie's family moved to London to start life in a safer place. A little off track. Despite having a distinct calling for music, Freddie's life took him in a different direction. Soon after moving to London, his parents insisted that he get a college degree to help him through life. This is how Freddie enrolled in a graphic art and design program. He completed the 4-year degree and soon started working at Heathrow Airport. Even though his life was going on a tangent from a music career, Freddie kept his passion alive. He became a part of different bands, often as the lead vocalist. With the powerful voice and unparalleled control he had every note, it wasn't a surprise that bands were eager to have him in their team. Keeping an eye out. Long before Freddie Mercury had hit the commercial music scene in any way, he knew who he was. His talent was not a secret, and Freddie told people he wasn't just going to be a pop star, he was going to be a legend. Decades after his death, it's impressive to look back and realize how right that young man was. This sort of clarity is rare, even in older people. Freddie knew what he wanted and also understood that he needed a team to get him there. He kept looking for talents that would help him make a band as powerful as his voice. This led him to Brian May and Roger Summers, who played for a band called Smile. Their music was as unique as Freddie's vocals, and Freddie knew they would make more fabulous music if they worked together. Phoenix from the Ashes. The Smile was wildly successful as a band. It perched high on the charts regularly and was followed by quite a few fans. In a move he'd come to regret later, the lead singer of Smile withdrew from his position in the band. The stage was now calling out for a new lead vocalist, and Freddie finally saw the opportunity he'd been waiting for a long time. With little to no delay, Freddie accepted the position. He'd loved their music for a while now and thought it would be a tragedy if the members disbanded. Freddie wanted the band to grow more significant than what it was, so just becoming the lead singer wasn't going to be enough. Queen, the controversy. Freddie and his team decided to refresh the band and its sound. The band was renamed Queen, which stirred up quite a bit of backlash. The word Queen holds a very sensitive connotation for the LGBT community, which explained their anger. Freddie's sexual orientation has always been a topic of great controversy in itself, since the star was so private and introverted. No one knows why he named the band Queen. Freddie mentioned in several interviews that the band name did not mean anything, it was just a name and not a statement. People around him give two possible explanations for the name. Either Freddie wanted to be as big of a legend as the Queen of England herself, or it was a hint at the way to catch the audience's attention with something shocking. The King of Octaves. Freddie wasn't just a good singer, he was a prodigy. The man could do with voice what few others could. In music, there's a concept of octaves, which are used to evaluate how wide a singer's range is. It's sporadic for singers, regardless of their gender, to be able to reach 3 octaves. Freddie, however, was super comfortable reaching 4 octaves with complete control. There are only a handful of singers in recent history who can successfully nail songs in 4 octaves. This means that Freddie was able to take his voice and emotions to places other singers couldn't. This set him apart. Our legend did not rely on his vocals, but he also wrote lyrics that made people around the world resonate with every word he said. We don't know what gives people this insane range. Mariah Carey is famous for having a 5-octave range, which she gladly shows off in songs like Emotion. In Freddie's case, however, he was confident that his incredible vocals come from having extra teeth. That's right, Freddie Mercury had those 4 extra teeth in the back of his mouth, which gave him a toothy smile, which led to him getting nicknamed Buck. Freddie never thought about getting the extra teeth removed because he believed that's where his voice got that additional control. Every concert a coronation. Freddie hadn't just named the band Queen and expected to become royalty. Every performance the band gave, the audience was mesmerized by the charm and charisma Freddie had. He had a knack for getting the audience electrified via his performance. People found it difficult to stay calm when Freddie took the stage. He was able to control the audience in a way that the industry really never saw again. The wildly cheering fans would follow every sweep of his hand. This was particularly fascinating because Freddie was a very private person when not performing, an introvert when not on stage, and a total performer once he started singing. The man was remarkable in so many ways. Queen wasn't just a bunch of outstanding performers, their music was unique at the very heart of it. During the 1970s, heavy rock and roll were all the rage, and most bands stayed comfortable with the genre. Not Queen. They pushed the genre to its limits and refused to wait in line with expectations. Every song was fresh and a trailblazer. Becoming Freddie Mercury. Once the band started getting a lot of traction in mainstream media, Freddie decided it was time he metamorphosized into something befitting. The name given to him at birth was Farouk, but he had outgrown that a very long time ago. This was the time when Freddie decided he was going to change his name. Fame was coming to get him, and he wanted to have a name that sounded like royalty. It didn't take that long to decide what his new first name would be. People in his life transitioned to calling him Freddie a very long time ago, and Freddie was the name he started his music career with. With Freddie decided, it was now time to choose a second name. After a lot of thought and pondering, he chose Mercury to be his last name. Not after the toxic element, mind you. He preferred Mercury, the messenger of gods in Greek mythology. Freddie was really into mythology, so this choice was not a surprise. Even Freddie failed at first. They say the difference between winners and losers is how easily they give up. People who abandon hope at the first sign of hardship find it difficult to go far in life. Failure is so inevitable in the beginning, even Queen had to go through it. The next time you have something coming up, remember that failing at first does not mean you won't get better. When Queen launched their first album in 1973, they were super excited to be in record stores. The band members waited for sales to take off immediately, but that didn't happen. They weren't able to sell many copies, and the album in its first year could qualify as a flop. However, this didn't deter them from continuing to make their music in the slightest. Becoming giants. Despite their slow start, the band realized they needed to be exposed to the public to gain traction. They got the opportunity to appear in a show, Lost Top of the Pops, which helped them become somewhat visible in the public's eye. However, it wasn't until they got to play as the opening act for Mott the Hoople in the US that people found out who Queen was and how addictive the band's music was. Freddie immortalizes Queen. The two songs that became iconic for Queen were Bohemian Rhapsody and We're the Champions. When Elton John heard Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time, he was sure it was a risk. Freddie, strong-headed as he was, insisted that the song was his vision and would reach the public at the somewhat longer length it had. Freddie was right to stick to his guns, as the song reached #1 on UK charts and stayed there for 9 weeks straight. The tragic diagnosis and death. In 1986, rumors about Freddie suffering from HIV emerged. He was increasingly scarcely available. Media vultures did whatever they could to find out what was going on, including following him around and interviewing his former lovers. Freddie grew increasingly weak and lost his eyesight towards the end of his life. Private as he was, he confirmed his condition only 24 hours before he finally passed away. He chose not to take medication or treatment since he saw death coming regardless. Freddie wanted to end life on his terms. The man died, but the legend has continued to live.
Subscribe for more.